The reveal of Sonic Mania has meant a lot to Sonic fans. It's a throwback to an era that many grew up with and view as a kind of golden age for the character. But most of all, it just looks fun. However, we know there's more to it than that. The trailer for Sonic Mania is filled with callbacks and references, but that's only the beginning. It's time we unleash the old analysis machine to see what secrets and hidden details we can find. Of course, be sure to watch our 7 Sega Easter eggs in Sonic Mania video first, as we won't be repeating those details here. First, let's take a look at who exactly is making Sonic Mania. It's being led by Christian Whitehead, the indie developer who spearheaded the re-release of Sonic CD on consoles, as well as Sonic 1 and 2 on mobile devices. He received help for those re-releases by Headcanon, who will also be joining him for Mania. Finally, there's Pagoda West Games, another indie developer with a focus on mobile games that helped port Sonic 1 and 2 to mobile. It's an excellent lineup of talent, no doubt, but let's see what they've done with Sonic Mania. Sonic himself is brimming with personality. When he's on the edge of a platform, he'll start waving his arms to hold his balance, but the animation here is much smoother than the few frames it was given in the original. And like the classic games, Sonic has a different edge animation when facing the other direction. We can't see the full animation loop, but we do see Sonic leaning back and preparing to wave his arms for a single frame. But our favorite animation is when Sonic looks up. His arms drop to his side and his eyes widen so that he looks absolutely amazed at whatever he's seeing. It's great subtle stuff. Then we have Sonic's speed. In one scene from the Mania trailer, Sonic has after images of himself as he speeds along a loop, and this gives us a better look at the speed effect on his legs. We can see the center rotating as Sonic's shoes move back and forth. It immediately brings to mind Sonic's Super Peel-Out from Sonic CD, but we've confirmed that he can't do that in Mania thanks to our hands-on time. Instead, the animation that appears is entirely dependent on Sonic's speed. In our footage of the demo, the player usually has Sonic moving at his typical speed, so his classic running animation is the one we see most. However, during one especially fast section, the player goes much faster, to the point where Sonic transitions from his normal animation to the new animation of his spinning legs. There's no sign of the after images though. This means that there's likely 3 forms of speed, each indicated by a different animation. Classic for fast, spinning legs for faster, and after image for fastest. It'll likely serve as an excellent visual indicator for players wanting Sonic to go as fast as possible and then maintaining that speed. But Sonic has a brand new move as well, the drop dash. Basically, it's a jump that causes Sonic to dash forward as soon as he hits the ground. If you look at Sonic's body while jumping, you'll notice that there's always a white dot. But when Sonic is charging the drop dash, that dot begins to sparkle. We believe this is the key visual indicator that the drop dash is being readied. In addition, we can see waves course across Sonic's balled up body, signifying which direction he'll dash when he lands. Based on both of these, it looks like Sonic is able to rev up in midair, so we'd assume that the drop dash is as simple as performing a spin dash while jumping. Except we tried that during the demo and it didn't work. Instead, what you have to do, according to Neo Reviews on YouTube, is press the jump button again while in midair and hold it until Sonic touches the ground. This effectively replaces the insta-shield from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and like that game, the ability is cancelled out by power-ups. Speaking of, there are a lot of power-ups available to Sonic in the various monitors. We have the typical rings, speed shoes, invincibility, and shield, but there are many more beyond that. For one, all of the elemental shields from Sonic 3 and Knuckles are back along with the Eggman monitor, which will damage Sonic if he breaks it. First up is the Fire Shield, which still allows Sonic to dash forward in the air and will likely protect him from fire and lava. The only major difference is its appearance when performing a charge. The fire effects have been improved since Sonic 3, and there's less of a tail, instead looking like a pure ball of flame. Next is the Lightning Shield, which we see still allows Sonic to double jump and draw in nearby rings when close enough. Finally, there's the Water Shield, which allows Sonic to bounce off of the ground to reach new heights. Plus, it'll probably still prevent Sonic from drowning underwater. The last monitor that we see in the gameplay is the most surprising. It simply shows a blue ring indicating that it's a combined ring monitor from Knuckles Chaotix. In that game, the monitor would combine the rings the player has collected into bigger rings that would be easier to collect on the next hit. And we see that this is still the case during the boss fight where the player is finally hit and 8 huge rings burst from him. Sonic is only able to grab 2, though they're worth 13 rings each, giving him 26 total. This means that the combined ring takes whatever your current total of rings is and divides it by 8 to split off when hit as the numbers add up. It only works once though, as when Sonic is hit again, the rings are back to normal. Plus, as we see later, when Sonic has a lot of rings and is hit, large rings fly off screen with no hope of recollecting them. You gotta avoid those hits. But let's look at the 2 levels featured in Sonic Mania next. First up is Green Hill Zone, which returns from Sonic 1 with a remixed look, but all of the same badniks. We can see crab meats, neutrons, motobugs, choppers, and buzz bombers throughout the footage, all acting as they did when they first appeared. As far as we can tell, none of them have received new attacks or the like. The stage itself also seems very faithful to the original Green Hill Zone, at least at first. As soon as Sonic gets past the speed section that launches him into the air and through rings, he lands on a checkpoint. From this point, the stage becomes wholly unique, besides the enemies and the look of Green Hill Zone. Let's back up first though. The player in our gameplay footage performs a spin dash into the yellow spring here. Rather than stopping him completely, Sonic is immediately launched into the air, making it seem as if Sonic just needs to walk into the springs now rather than specifically jump on them. However, in footage from GameSpot, we can see Sonic run into this spring and stop for just a moment as he needs to jump on top of it. It's incredibly minor, but it seems like Sonic can spin dash into these springs with no problem and only jump on them when running. And the animation of him using the spring is a callback to the animation in Sonic CD. The thing about Green Hill Zone in Sonic Mania though is how heavily inspired it seems to be by Sonic CD. The stage is huge with multiple levels that interconnect in different ways, allowing both speed and exploration. And unlike Sonic CD, there are pits where Sonic can die instantly. It feels like a mix between CD and the Genesis games. One of the areas that stood out to us is this loop, which actually has a lower platform on the left that may be possible for Sonic to reach the top. And if he can't normally, maybe with the water shield's bounce or lightning shield's double jump. Then there's this section which takes a page from Green Hill Zone in Sonic Generations, placing one of the spirals from Sonic 2's Emerald Hill Zone in the stage. After all, it does feel right at home here. But the coolest thing that we spotted is this giant ring in the middle of the stage. If you've played Sonic 3 and Knuckles at all, this will be very familiar. These giant rings served as the entrances to the bonus rooms in that game where players could earn one of the Chaos Emeralds. While many Sonic bonus stages have taken inspiration from Sonic 2's half-pipe design, this could very well indicate that the Blue Sphere bonus stage is back for Mania, and that likely means that Chaos Emeralds are back as well. Actually, we know they're back, but we'll save that evidence for a little later. Another neat detail about Green Hill Zone that pops up as Sonic reaches the end is how the background changes. Before this point, the sky was open and blue, just like the original. But as Sonic approaches the boss fight arena, it looks like things are heading underground, with stalactites above and the appearance of an underground cave. Perhaps levels will gradually change and lead into the theme of the next level, similar to how it was done in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And just like that game, each level ends with a boss. This one features 2 wrecking balls with Eggman's face on them, a definite callback to the first boss of Green Hill Zone, but it does play differently. The balls will swing down to hit Sonic, but he can damage them as long as they're not glowing red. If they are, he will be hurt instead. Once one is destroyed, the other will make a kind of desperation attack where it bounces along the ground while glowing red. Once it stops, it's open to the final blow. The victory sign then comes down, and we suspect, since there are already so many callbacks to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, that Sonic can juggle it like in that game, perhaps finding secret monitors in the ground depending on where it lands. Once it does, Sonic performs a little hop into his victory pose with his finger outstretched. This is actually a reference to a cut piece of animation from the original game in which Sonic did something similar according to As Your Dream or NeoGAF. It's a cool little nod to what came before. Unlike Green Hill Zone, Studiopolis Zone is a completely new stage inspired by movie studios, which is appropriate considering Studiopolis is named after the studio where the voice acting for Sonic is recorded. There's a ton of detail to be found in this new zone, so let's start with the trailer footage first. Right off the bat, we can see Sonic is a rule breaker. There's clearly a sign here saying not to break the glass, yet it shatters as he speeds by. But it does show off a pretty cool effect. As the glass breaks away, it appears as if the shards are reflecting the television screens. They're obviously not exactly, but the intent does make it stand out all the more. Signs and billboards can be seen all over Studiopolis, but the strangest can just be seen above the loop that Sonic speeds by. They seem to depict a cupcake, a man, a target, and another circular object that we can't quite identify. We're honestly not sure what it could mean or how it ties in with the rest of the game. Maybe it points toward the crafts table or the bathroom? At any rate, we can see Eggman's insignia elsewhere in the background, interspersed with VU meters tracking the sound levels. Looks like Eggman's getting ready to start his own show. We then see Sonic burst out of a TV, which we now know he got beamed into thanks to the satellite dish on top of the Hornet van. As we can see from our gameplay, the dish then beams Sonic to other dishes around the area until finally reaching a TV. However, just because Sonic breaks the TV doesn't mean he can't use the same satellite array again, as it repairs by the time he's beamed back to it. But there's a lot we can see around this Hornet van as well. For one, we can see the tops of skyscrapers in the background, meaning this area is much higher in the level. In previous scenes, we could see the lower part of the level, which showed the central section of a few skyscrapers and the supports holding them up. The background is entirely dependent on how high or low Sonic is in the level. But this scene is also where we get our confirmation of the Chaos Emeralds. As Sonic is beamed past an Egg TV logo, we can see 7 colored dots above Eggman, each one representing one of the emeralds. The fun part is, it actually has another meaning. The way they're arranged might be a reference to the classic NBC Peacock logo, as pointed out to us by Clement J642 on YouTube, which is extremely fitting considering the stage. It's another example of how clever these references can be, but we can also see another hazard nearby, spikes that seem to burst out when Sonic is near. We see this same location in our gameplay footage. It turns out that the spikes burst in and out in regular intervals rather than based on Sonic's proximity. Even still, Sonic won't be hit by them until he decides to jump. These moving platforms rotate around a film reel projector, showing looping footage of Eggman in a kind of 1930s animation. As far as we can tell, his design isn't based on anything in particular, just the general feeling of that cartoon era. Returning to the trailer, we see that many areas in Studiopolis are covered, with a light casting shadows of what's on the other side. This includes spikes, level geometry, and Sonic himself. It can be a cool effect, but it doesn't seem to make anything more challenging. Everything can still clearly be seen with the exception of monitors, though in the case of breaking one behind the curtain, it was merely rings. We doubt the developers would place an Eggman monitor here, as it seems a little unfair. At one point in the trailer, we see Sonic being taken higher by the popcorn machine. It doesn't really show us anything new, but a later scene showcases Sonic speeding past the Clubspin Ages billboard while on the ceiling, breaking through more glass and eventually winding up to the left of the machine, emphasizing how the game will absolutely have multiple paths, something that's been pretty obvious from everything we've seen. Another billboard is advertising eggnog, which features a beaker and other symbols creating Eggman's face. We suppose eggnog is the official drink of Eggman? It seems obvious, but who knew the good doctor was so festive? At any rate, another billboard is attached to a skyscraper and vertically reads Egg TV once again, though it's tricky to see through the score. Studiopolis Zone also introduces several brand new badniks which all fit the theme of the stage. First up is this drop-down microphone with eyes. At first, it looked like it was only capable of surprising Sonic and then ineffectually swing back and forth. However, we later see it electrifying itself as another attack, making sure Sonic can't even touch it. The next badnik appears to be a flying bug that acts as a camera, a shutter bug if you will. Several times in the gameplay footage we see it flash its light like it's taken a picture, but Sonic is never damaged. It seems to primarily try to get in Sonic's way, though maybe it hurts Sonic if he attacks while it's flashing. We can't really say for sure. The third new badnik is an Orbinaut-like enemy. It has 3 smaller balls surrounding it which can be hit and destroyed, but the only way to get rid of it completely is to strike its main body. Its main attack revs up the balls surrounding it to blinding speed, ensuring that Sonic would be hurt instead if he touched it. We later see it without the screen where we can see that each of its balls has a unique color: blue, either yellow or green, and either red or purple. but we suspect it may be blue, green, and red to either match with the Game Gear logos or match the primary colors that are used in CRT televisions. Perhaps both. We can't help but feel though that this Orbinaut-like baddie is less dangerous than his brethren. Finally, there's this snail-like badnik. Our first look at it goes by in a flash as they are destroyed quickly, but we do get to see their basic shape. We get a better look later on as we can see that its shell rotates like a film reel as it moves, and it attacks by spitting out 4 frames of film out from the compartment on its shell. Perhaps this is the projector lens? Either way, hitting the film damages Sonic as one would expect. While none of the new badniks seem especially dangerous, they certainly fit in with Studiopolis. We wonder if each zone will have its own unique badniks to exactly fit the theme, rather than have some repeatedly pop up in different zones. But there are even more stage elements to Studiopolis Zone. One features Sonic running along a sphere while bingo balls bounce all around him. We can see various values in there, including an Eggman dud. It looks like the player simply has to run until 4 balls are released, and we presume that whatever number you end up with is the ring bonus you receive. In the case of the trailer, it's 3 times 7 plus 1 times 4, which equals 25 rings. Kind of a fitting number considering it's Sonic's 25th anniversary, wouldn't you say? Then there's the clapperboard that bounces Sonic upward and across gaps. Amusingly enough, it actually has the game time displayed on it, matching your current time. It also shows the act number of Studiopolis, and below that, Sega and the initials for CW, HC, and PWG, which stand for Christian Whitehead, Headcanon, and Pagoda West Games respectively. There's also a director's chair with Eggman's name on it that simply takes Sonic to higher places. And finally, there's one of the harder to spot references to classic Sonic. In the background of this scene, a train can be seen passing by with the words COPE and CPU on the side. These were the same words that appeared in lights all throughout Spring Yard Zone in Sonic 1. But there's also something missing from Studiopolis, a boss fight. Right before the stage ends, there's a checkpoint that you can't miss passing by. We'd be willing to bet that there's supposed to be a mini-boss waiting for Sonic in the same vein as Green Hill Zone, but simply wasn't ready. There seems to be more to the stage in general too, as Sonic can zoom past the goal and is somehow launched high into the air to pass through rings before landing near the clear sign. So, as we thought, every act will end with a boss fight. Sonic Mania is looking like it'll be an incredibly fun throwback to the Genesis days of Sonic. The gameplay looks fun, the music is fantastic, and we've still only seen 2 levels. While we're not sure how big the game will be, we absolutely believe it'll be worth playing, and you know we'll be there to cover any new info that comes out. Of course, if we missed anything, let us know in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to keep up with everything we do. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stay tuned to Game Explained for more on Sonic and other things gaming.